Let's bring in John Fox, former All-Pro, John Lynch, I should say, the NFL on Fox. I knew there was a Fox in there. He's John Lynch of the NFL on Fox. Or he's John Fox from the NFL on Lynch. Hey, John, how are you?
You're still trying to get me fined. Didn't he get fined the other day?
Yeah, no, I did not. Does anybody say anything about if you guys are critical about the officiating?
No, I think, Fox certainly allows us. I know week one, the league, I think, kind of duped every network and called and said, hey, we're close to a deal, so have your guys go easy. And so that was kind of the edict from up top, go easy on these guys.
I did not hear that.
Yeah.
So you guys were told that a deal was imminent, so don't be critical of what you see, the product?
Yeah, not telling us not to say anything, but just be careful because the deal's close, and then they duped us like everybody else. And so the next week it was take the gloves off, say whatever you want, and we have.
But I'm looking at this situation now, and I told the audience I'm just not going to make this a wine session today. We know the call was wrong, but you came out with something where you said that the rules have changed now. Changed more for the offense or the defense because of the replacement officials?
Well, I just think it's kind of chaos out there, and I think there's a thought that, hey, they aren't calling anything. Well, I think you look at a couple of the games and the numbers are, 25 penalties, 20-plus penalties. So they're calling a lot of things. They're just calling the wrong things. And players clearly have someone used that substitute teacher analogy where it's just chaos in the classroom. Let's see what we can get away with. And I think that's what it's become. And it's, I was watching Seattle. A lot of it to me seems like great defense, and these guys are jamming receivers all over the field. But the NFL's fought for a long time to get that out of the game and to try to open it up offensively, and that's not what you're having. And so you see some of that, but then you see a ticky-tack, a blatantly not pass interference on the Green Bay Packers. I mean, everybody talks about the last play. I think there were a number of plays prior.
Well, that roughing the passer was not roughing the passer.
On Eric Walden,
yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's just those are the ones that drive you crazy. I can look at that final play, John. We can all be in agreement with that. There were a couple pass interference and roughing the passer calls on the drive that should never have been called.
Exactly, and that's gone on all over the league. So I think the fact that everyone's up in arms about this one, it's because it went down to the last play. But there's been a number of games where I've felt like it has affected the outcome of the game. Remember, this is the NFL where every game comes down to 3, 4, 5 plays, and so every play counts. And so I think it's disingenuous to say that this is the first game where the outcome has been affected.
Would you play differently now?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I think. In our NFL seminar for Fox way back when, they had Brian Billick talk about it, and I had even forgot as a player that right before 9/11, there was a game where the replacement officials were in there, and Brian said, what I told my team then is do everything, hold, do anything. They're going to be afraid to call anything, and so I'm sure they're being instructed. I know, the Patriots and teams around the league are practicing, having their DBs hold on every play because that's what they're expecting.
Talking to John Lynch, NFL on Fox analyst, former All-Pro safety, Dan Patrick Show. Are you seeing finesse teams, though, taken advantage of? And I point this out with a team like the Patriots or the Packers or the Saints, or is that am I reaching a little bit too much there?
I think we're reaching a little. I think the bottom line is, I find myself, the other night I went to bed angry. I think when you care about this game, when you've put a lot into it, when you know how much the people on the field are putting into it, it just speaks to arrogance. I think the arrogance of the owners that when the league is at a crossroads, admittedly, and I'm watching at my 13-year-old son's level, the league that he played in last year go from 8 teams down to 4 because there's parents that are worried about concussions and things, and numbers of football are dropping. I think it's extremely arrogant to go into a season when you're at a crossroads with everything not right. And so what I think it does, I think it makes you incredibly vulnerable because here you are at this crossroads, and your words are starting to mean nothing. I think when it doesn't just affect the product on the field. I think when people are looking at Roger Goodell now on the bounty issue, I mean, he had me bought in hook, line, and sinker. I thought the punishments were a little harsh. I thought Greg Williams should have been gone, and everybody else, maybe a game here or there. But now I find it hard to believe anything he's saying on that, because I don't believe anything he's saying on this, that the integrity of the game won't be heard. All the words he's saying now don't mean a whole lot to me. And he's a guy who I had a great deal of respect, and I still think he's a good guy. I think he's in a tough position. I think the owners are not wanting to give in. I've talked to owners; they don't want to give in on this situation. I think the referees, because they see opportunity, it's just a mess, and it's not what the NFL is all about. And I'm tired of seeing it like everyone else.
I want to ask a couple of football-related questions on the field, actually not to do with the officials, because I think it's so easy to go down this road and then we can't come back from it. The best team you've seen so far is who?
I like Atlanta. I know the popular answer right now is Houston, and they're darn good as well. But I'm watching Atlanta right now. I have them this week, and they are just playing lights out in every phase of the game. Matt Ryan, here you are, year 5, and you think, gosh, a quarterback can't really change that much who he is.
But I thought year 5 was that line, that dividing line. If you hadn't shown, who you were going to be, it wasn't going to happen in year 6 or 7 or 8.
Exactly, and I've heard from afar. Well, he's put on 5-6 pounds. He's thrown with more zip. Because I think that was the criticism, if there was one. On certain balls, you could take things away because you knew he couldn't execute certain plays.
Well, Rodney Harrison came back from seeing them last year in training camp.
Yeah.
And he said he has no arm strength whatsoever. As a defensive back, I'd love to play against him.
Well, I had him last year, and I thought the same thing, and I'm not seeing that now on the field. I'm putting a reel together, in fact, of throws with just tremendous zip and velocity. And he obviously felt like he heard the whispers. He felt it himself, and he went out and addressed it.
What about Peyton's arm strength? I brought it up last week.
Yeah.
The elephant was in the room, and I brought it up. And, of course, everybody said, you're crazy. It just seemed like, Peyton doesn't, maybe he gets it, but he did not have it in that game against Atlanta.
Well, I think just listen to him. He's been extremely honest. He's not all the way back. I think that's very true. I'll tell you that he was better against Houston than he was against Atlanta, and I think you'll see that continue. I think the Broncos are actually in good shape. I think they're 1-2. They've played a brutal schedule. I think he'll get better every week. Everybody else around him will get better, and I believe they'll be there at the end of the game. He's just that good, and he's getting healthier by the week. And,
did you have any problem with Mays getting a game for the hit on Sean?
I think we've all been saying, hey, if you're going to find these guys, it's really not going to affect anything. At some point, you're going to have to suspend a player. I like Joe Mays the way he plays. He had been fine the week before, and I think the league's making a statement. I think, again, though, in the midst of everything else, that kind of loses its effect because everybody's so up in arms about everything else. And, maybe the commissioner got to turn and find himself here a little for the embarrassment that's been caused in the league. And I think it's just, players, everybody says, go ahead, fine us. It's ridiculous what's going on. And things like that might lose the effect they might have in a normal situation.
I can hear it in your voice, John. I haven't heard you this angry before about that.
I really am. It's hard to watch.
Do you want to hit somebody right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you want to hit the commissioner?
And I like him. It's just, this is a bad situation, and I think they've insulted all of our intelligence by telling us that everything's fine, that everything's going to be fine, and that the product's not going to be affected. The product is being affected.
But my problem is that they're almost laughing at us because we care so much about the game.
And what are you going to do? I heard somebody the other day say fans should stay home. Fans aren't going to do that.
They're not going to.
And I think the owners, the referees, at some point, it's when the players, when the strike with the players ended. What was it? It was Robert Kraft getting in the room with Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
At some point, that's got to happen. Robert Kraft, some of these owners that the Jerry Joneses need to get in that room with Ed Hockley and arm wrestle and say, all right, whoever wins, let's go.
John, good to visit with you. I know you got Panthers-Falcons game coming up this weekend. We'll be watching.
Thanks, DP. Always great visiting with you.
All right, John Lynch. That's some strong stuff right there. I did not know that the NFL told some of these announcers that ease off, we're close to a settlement here. I was not told that at NBC. I was not told that. Sounds disingenuous, doesn't it?